Hey guys, it's Matt here, and today I'm doing another episode of Matt Rants. So, some of you guys might be looking at this video and thinking, wow, I haven't heard anybody on my feed talking about this, but you know what? Maybe I'll listen to this man's rant on it. Again, I've never heard anyone else talk about this. Soulja Boy releasing a console. Well, I have to tell you guys, it is true, despite the lack of media coverage. I wish I could say slash sarcasm in real life, but it would just, I don't like saying LOL in real life. But no, seriously though, guys, everyone's talked about this. I was not going to talk about this because I thought, why? Everyone else is covering this. But Soulja Boy keeps on incriminating himself. I mean, could you imagine, right? If somebody famous, I don't know, murdered their wife and their lover. I don't know, I'm just thinking of random things. And, and somebody did that, and, they got off, all right? They were not charged with anything, and then all of a sudden they wrote a book that says, "If I Did It." Could you imagine? I mean, who would do something so who would do that, right? But still, the point though is that he keeps on, in this case I'm referring to Soulja Boy, not this imaginary football player. Did I say he was a football player? This person, Soulja Boy in this case, he just keeps on doing this. And I feel like I'm going crazy. Because every time he announces something new, I'm sitting back and I'm like, no, this is a fever dream. This is a fever dream, and maybe I was hit by a car. I don't know. Maybe this is all a dream, maybe I'm in a snow globe. I don't know what's going on right now, but Soulja Boy is now releasing 2 more consoles. Actually, you can't see me doing this because, we're recording it audio. I should say consoles. I think you can hear the air quotes. He's actually releasing 2 more of these. And I think before we get into what they are and what he's released thus far, we should ask the question, is Soulja Boy going to jail? See, we usually ask questions if you're new to Matt Rants. We ask, is Soulja Boy going to jail? I'm just going to give it to you straight right now. The answer is yes. But you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll tell you why I think he's going to go to jail. Now, we should clear up all rumors. Nintendo has not struck him down with the force of 1,000 stars. He has not struck him down. So as far as we know, he's in the clear right now. But I do think that Nintendo is basically just, I don't know, maybe just FaceTiming their lawyers. Just keep it on. Just keep it on. Should we turn it off? No, just keep it on 24/7. He just keeps on doing more stuff. So, okay, let's talk about the new things that he's releasing. So, he is releasing the Soulja Game Fuse and the Retro Soulja Boy Mini. Now, another thing, the 2 things that he has released before are the Soulja Game Handheld and the Soulja Game Console. Now, if you truly don't know about these, not many, everyone has talked about it. The Soulja consoles are essentially rebranded Chinese clone consoles. They are not hardware based. You can't put in a Famicom game, an NES game, SNES, Super Famicom, none of that stuff, but it can run the ROMs. Now, here's the thing. If they could just run the ROMs, I really wouldn't care. Yes, they would be marked up, but you know what? I'm not saying you can't rebrand, stuff from China. I know some people are like, but come on, you can't really do that. It's bad. I'm not saying it's good marketing. I'm not saying that it's a good console to release, but you're technically allowed to do that so long as you don't include any of the ROMs, and also you don't include any of the emulators. Yes, some people will say you can technically sell the emulators, but really you have to develop it yourself, or you have to get the consent of whoever made the emulators. You technically, when it comes to emulators, you don't have to get Nintendo, Sony, Sega, any of them on board. But with the ROMs, you obviously have to license those. In case you don't know, you have to license the ROMs if you're commercially releasing a system with ROMs on it. In fact, when it comes to the emulator situation, not getting the emulator creators to sign off on a certain product, or your product, whatever your hypothetical product might be, was actually a bit of an issue, a bit of a scandal with a certain company. Now, I'm not going to name names here, so we're going to keep the Retron 5 out of this, but a certain company actually ended up releasing I believe it was hardware and emulation and software emulation. It was a hybrid. So I believe it was a hybrid console, and they had emulators on there that they shouldn't have because they didn't talk to the emulator distributors. So, this console that could play 5 Retron games, systems, different types of cartridges on there, it wasn't the most legal. It technically wasn't illegal, but it wasn't the most legal. It was in this really weird gray area that they probably should have either ponied up the cash or at least talk to the developers beforehand. But allegedly, they did not. But you know what? I got off track. So getting back to Soulja Boy, you would think, but no, Soulja Boy wouldn't crank down that copyright. He would crank up that copyright, i.e. following the laws of the land. Well, here's the thing. Apparently, Soulja Boy has not. Now, you might be thinking, well, Matt, you shouldn't be talking about this without having one in your hands. You should actually get one to review for the channel. No. So I'm not getting one for the channel because I don't have that kind of money to spend on that. Now, I'm not saying I haven't bought clone consoles before. I totally have, and I think that they're very interesting to look into, but I try to buy ones that actually can play the hardware and aren't just software based. So yeah, I'm not buying these. I'm not even buying the original ones from AliExpress. Again, other YouTubers have done that. They've spent their money on it, much bigger YouTubers than I am. Good, do that. You have the money to do that. I do not. So I'm not going to buy these, but you can easily find online that he's some of these. So the retro Soulja Boy Mini, not only, by the way, is it $134 on his website, also, by the way, some people are talking about the fact that after a certain period of time, I don't know if they've either maxed out how many they purchased to sell. This is Soulja Boy and his crew, company, I guess you want to call it a company, a racket, I don't know. They've sold maybe more than they should have, so now people that are purchasing it, they're saying, hey, I haven't got mine even though I paid for 3-day shipping. Still, putting that aside, $134, and apparently the Retro Soulja Boy Mini has 508 games on a TF card, or you could pick up the handhelds for, so this is interesting, so you can get the handheld for $24 on AliExpress with 1,077 games. Looking at by the way, this article will be linked in the description box down below. Wanted to mention that. Now, the Soulja game Fuse, so apparently, I've seen the Fuse actually. The Fuse looks just like an Xbox One. It's pretty odd. The Soulja game version is actually $400. And, which by the way is a discount. It normally goes for $640. But Soulja Boy found it in his heart to Superman those discounts. So thank you, Soulja Boy. Thank you so much. He's really, truly the Santa Claus of piracy. And so, by the way, on AliExpress, it's being sold without the Soulja Boy branding for $320. I don't know if we have, so I don't have access to the other two's pricing. You guys can probably look that up yourselves. The point is, I just want to talk about the fact that I mentioned earlier in the video, as again, we always ask a question during these Matt Rants, or usually we do, is Soulja Boy going to jail? Now, again, yes, want to get all the rumors out of the way. Nintendo has not actually rang up Soulja Boy, has not cranked that up, and said, hey, you're going to jail. But here's the thing, you guys, because there are some people online that are saying, hey, but it must be legal or Nintendo must not care because they haven't gotten Soulja Boy yet. This news is less than a month old. So they haven't gotten Soulja Boy yet because they're making a case. To make a case against someone, unless it's something criminal, heck, even if it's something criminal, you still have to prove that something went down. Yes, our criminal justice system does need some type of reform because you can still be taken in and be in jail awaiting a trial for far longer than you really should. But at the same time, when it comes to a crime like this where no one has been physically hurt, they're not going to need to detain Soulja Boy, and I'm pretty sure at this point they're probably not considering him a flight risk. Even though he does have enough money to be considered a flight risk, they're probably not considering him a flight risk, so it's not like they're going to be taking him in to try to deem him a flight risk or not. They're just probably sitting there and going, oh my god. I feel like Nintendo right now, like Reggie, must actually just be sitting at his desk like, so is this... Like, he has to be mirroring my feelings. And look, I don't know Reggie Fils-Aimé, but he has to be mirroring the way that I'm feeling. Like, this is not real, right? Soulja Boy isn't doing this in 2018, 2019. Like, are we actually going to be suing Soulja Boy for releasing our games on a quote-unquote console? Also, by the way, I should mention Soulja Boy has also been talking about running an esports team, I believe. So, or it was either esports league. So, I mean, I will admit, that's not illegal. So from that front, he's just fine. I mean, it will potentially be illegal if, like the NFL, he ends up hiring people that beat their wives. But other than that, I'm pretty sure that it's not illegal to run an esports league, so go him. Unless all the players are like bootleg players of other esports players. So they're just people who are just essentially cosplaying and taking the IP of other esports players. Maybe that's illegal, so maybe he shouldn't do that. But other than that, I think he's fine with the esports thing. But when it comes to these emulators, here's the thing, guys. So, look, I know that you might think, but Matt, are you saying you don't use emulators? Or are you saying that we shouldn't use emulators? Or are you saying that, we're all going to jail or we should all go to jail? Look, I'm not talking about you or the consumer who... I'm not talking about, even emulating like Super Mario. I'm talking about emulating, personally, when I think of emulation, I think of the stuff that you can't get in the US. Mother 3, things like that. But when you look at Soulja Boy releasing the actual ROMs, so these are the full-on ROMs, you can play them normally, although I have seen some YouTubers talk about there are some issues with the emulation, but still, they're still the ROMs, just the same way that you could get them on an NES, SNES, both classics, or even get some of these on the PlayStation Classic. Yes, there was one that had PlayStation games on it. I believe that was the Fuse. PlayStation Classic, also games that you could potentially get as well through either the Nintendo Switch Online store or the Wii U and the Wii Online stores, 3DS store as well. So, he's releasing these, and it's as if it's just the way it is. Yeah, I'm just releasing these with games on it. What's wrong? Now, maybe you could say, well, Matt, he probably doesn't know. He's not actually doing this with malice, and he's not actually trying to break the law. Well, I would suggest, and I'm not suggesting you break a law, but if you were going to anyway, tell that to the judge. And I'm sure you'll see that that's not really... not knowing the law doesn't really work in court. Saying, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't know. It comes off as that... I don't know if you guys have seen the Dave Chappelle skit. It was... he was sitting in a car with his friend, and his friend was speeding. This is done, in the skit, so you could say it wasn't real. But still, he was in a car with his friend, and he was talking about how a cop stopped them. And the friend said, I'm sorry, officer. I didn't know. I couldn't do that. The officer was like, all right, sure. Just go on. And then the friend looked over to Dave and said, joke's on him. I did know I couldn't do that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You're gonna go to jail if you're put in front of a judge and you commit all of these crimes. You're gonna go, well, I'm sorry, sir, I didn't know. All right, cool. You just admitted to doing it. Guilty. So I don't... that's the first thing right there. For any of you are saying, but he doesn't know, or hey man, come on, I emulate. Yeah, but you're not putting your name on a product to sell hundreds of ROMs. Technically thousands if you combine them all together, but all the different consoles. Hundreds of ROMs that don't even belong to you. Now you could even say, but Matt, what about the orphan works and things like that? Okay, so let's scratch off all the orphan works. Why? You still have enough ROMs from Nintendo's, Sega's, and Sony's library to get him into a lot of trouble. And frankly, I think that he should. Now, should it be jail time? That's the thing. I'm saying that I think he would be going to jail, but should it be jail time? Look, I don't know. I really don't know if it should be jail time or not. But at the same time, I think it's just frustrating that looking at someone like him, who assumingly has a lot of money, some would say he probably doesn't if he's doing a scheme like this. Okay, fair. But still, someone who definitely has a lot more money than probably you listening and me sitting right here recording this. if he can get away with this, with a simple slap on the wrist, and he might get $1 million fine, which to some of us is like, whoa, that's a lot of money. But again, if he's getting a lot of money, not just from these, but in general, from residuals, from, the songs, some say the one song, but still songs that he sold over the years through like iTunes and other from other revenue streams. That's the word I was looking for, revenue streams. If he's still getting money from that, $1 million might just be a slap on the wrist. So in a way, it's frustrating because some would say if he goes to jail, would it set a bad precedent? Would it mean that anyone selling, or anyone, obviously anyone selling ROMs, yeah, you should get some type of fine. But anyone using ROMs or downloading ROMs, but I do think that there is some nuance here. It's not about him, if Soulja Boy was just talking about how he wants to download Live Alive, that game, you guys know which game I'm talking about, or like Terranigma. If he wants to download games that never came out here, he's like, you know what I really want to play? JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on the Super Famicom. If he downloaded that with an English patch, I'm not going to sit there and be like, throw the book at him. No, he's just doing this as a consumer of a game that he can't legally even play here. So I think that in a court of law, there would be a huge difference between doing that and between actually selling these ROMs. And I laugh because it's really happening right now. Selling ROMs in 2019 on consoles that have your name on it. So you can't even be like, I don't think that's mine, officer. Could you? That's literally like just having a gun with your name on it. I don't believe that's mine, officer. Really? Is that, you have a middle initial? I may. Is that your middle initial? It is. Like, it's just, you have it right there. It is just crazy to me. I think that, I think someone in this case, because it's so egregious, needs to be made an example of. I think it should be Soulja Boy. I'm not saying he should be in here for life. I'm not saying he should be in here for 20 years. Heck, maybe even 5 is too much. But he should definitely get something more than just community service and more than just a small, in scope of what he makes, fine. I think that he is going to face some legal ramifications for this. Because frankly, it would be disturbing if he could do something like this and just be let off just fine. As a U.S. citizen, living in the U.S., trying to, have this be a quote-unquote reputable business, I just think that it is frustrating that it would really show, and look, I know that we have a two-tier justice system, but it would really make that apparent, especially some of you gamers out there who might be like, I don't know if we have a two-tier justice system. This would definitely put it right there in your face, because if you were doing something like this, you can't tell me that you'd be just fine. Like, nah, I wouldn't be thrown in jail for this. Yes, you would. You know that you would if it was you and not someone who's a celebrity who's making a lot of money and who's made a lot of money in the past. All right, guys. So thank you all so much for listening in. I want to hear what you guys think down below. You think he's going to jail? Think he's not going to jail? Think he's getting a fine? No fine? You think he has the right to do this? That he shouldn't be doing this? You think that this is the craziest thing? If 2018 got more 2018, I think this is it right here. Thank you all so much. Love you all. Tune in next time for another episode of Matt Rants. All right, guys. So see ya.